Hello, and welcome back to Sharing a Chapter a Day. This is Doe, Ra, me, and today I will be reading Chapter 146 of Engagement in Peril by Dara Ado Sok. Chapter 146 is titled The Rest of Our Great Britain Trip. London, England, November 22nd to November 26, 2007. Sometime that afternoon, our Eurostar train came to an end, and we have arrived to our destination of London, England. The long, smooth ride gave Delilah and I time to rest and allowed time for our exhausted body to re-energize itself for more futuristic mischiefs. Once we have reached our destination, Delilah and I gathered our belongings and luggage, and we made our way off the train and into the waiting terminal. While we were making our way toward the outskirt of the terminal, we were met up by my cousin Kagome. She had come to surprise us at the train station. We hugged her and we followed her to the underground subways to catch the city's train back to North Greenwich on the other side of London. We each got a day's pass ticket from the ticket vending machine, and with our luggage and backpack in tow, we left the Eurostar station and rode about on the underground train, taking the Piccadilly line to the Jubilee line and back to Kagome's home loft in South London. While riding back to her home, Kagome wanted to know everything that we did and see while we were on our European vacation. She had heard from her brother Jin that he took us to Amsterdam and that he and Shia had drove us to Paris. We told Kagome all the details of our trip, of course leaving out all the nasty, dirty sex that Delilah and I did, of course. We told her what we did and what we saw in Amsterdam, all the illegal things that were legalized there, which in the U.S. would land us in hot water. She laughed at those comments. We told her of our adventures in Paris, all the places we saw, all the food we ate, and all the pictures we took. We told her of all the horrible rainstorm and the protest of the city's worker and such on the train and public buses that wasn't running there at the time, and how we cut our trip there a little short, and how we met her uncle's foster parent. This I had told Kagome everything we could remember. Kagome was happy for the both of us, and apologized for not having the time to show us around town and such, since she was our host and such. We told her not to worry, and think nothing of it about it at all. We didn't mind doing and going to see places on our own. After all, that is why we are tourists in the first place. We uh, we all laughed and we giggled. She promised us to take us to the O2 Convention Super Complex Center that was in North Greenwich Station area in southeast London, not far from here, her home. And this time, Davy is going out with us as well. We laughed and thanked her for her warm hospitalities and allowing us to stay with her and her husband and her family, and we all rode the rest of our trip back comfortably together, sitting alongside one another on the subway train. Once we got to the North Greenwich Station area, we caught a double-deck bus and rode back to Kagome's home. We exited the bus with our luggage and backpacks and walked 2 blocks back and into her home. We had the same room we had used several weeks earlier. We unpacked some of our items and brought down the gift that I had bought for Kagome, my aunt and her baby girl, Amelia, as well. My aunt was surprised that I had brought her Belgian chocolate. She loves the chocolate sweets dearly. She hugged me with thanks and appreciations. For Kagome, I got her a foot therapy water tub. Since she was always on her feet and would work and running around town whatnot, she humbly thanked me and hugged me warmly. For baby Amelia, I had gotten her a little outfit from Paris that had the saying and inscribed in French, "I've been kissed in the city of love." Kagome and my aunt laughed once again, once Kagome read the slogan and explained to her mother what it meant. They quickly slapped the funny logo cute outfit onto baby Amelia. That afternoon, since Kagome had the day off, she took Delilah and I around town, going to family shopping center whatnot, with her mother and baby Amelia accompanying us. We all took the train, the Underground. So after a short rest, we all got dressed, readied, and with baby Amelia's stroller ready, we pushed onward toward the city's bus stop. With our day's pass still valid, we boarded and my aunt and had to pay separately, and baby Millie ride on the bus for free since she was an infant. We rode the English double-deck bus to the Newark Ranger station once again, and once we arrived there, pointed out that the O2 Convention Super Complex Center to us, where there are numerous departments, stores, and eateries, and movie theaters as well. We all agreed We all agreed to give it a look-see. We all went there to look and shop around. I pushed Amelia in her stroller while the three grown women walked behind me and the baby, chit-chatting away about this and that. We made several stops and patronized several clothing and department stores since it was winter time. Christmas decoration had already been displayed, and the Christmas shopping season and warm greetings had already begun to show its head around the malls and throughout the city of London. We had a good outing there at the O2 Convention Super Complex and left after a good 3 hours of touring its stores and knickknacks. After a good outing at the O2, we then returned to Kagomi's humble loft and helped make dinner for tonight's family dinner. Once we arrived back in the house, Kagome and my aunt busied themselves in the kitchen and getting our dinner ready, while Delilah and I were tending to baby Amelia and her needs. We played dolls and baby music with her, looking at musical pictures book and together reading to the lovely baby girl. I had asked if my aunt wanted my help in the kitchen. She laughed and said no, just to keep watching Amelia, she had happily commented. Around 2000 that evening, Davy returned home from his day of hard work, laboring at someone's home with the plumbing and such. His jeans and jacket were soaked with soot and some debris. He kissed his baby girl hello and kissed his wife good evening and said hello to the two of us and welcomed us back. He then went upstairs to clean up for supper. Once everyone was ready and dinner was ready to be served, I helped with setting up the dining table in the living room, and we all went about to devouring our nicely prepared meal that night. Davy had asked us how our trip in Belgium and Paris went. We told him the short version, and he laughed at the sum of the comment we had made. He had told us that those French people are the weird ones, while he teasingly asked if we found love in the city of love. Personally, I thought, personally in thoughts there, I know that I had found love then with Delilah. Personally, in my thoughts there, I know I had found love then. Love with Delilah. More deeply in love I had fallen for her then. I don't know if she was thinking then, what she was thinking then, but I like to think that she had agreed with me that she too had found love within me. Love with me, of course. Shin Shin, the one that had been with her this entire trip throughout. But sometime she seemed to be lost in some other thoughts. Shin Shin was dead wrong then about what Delilah was thinking. That cold-hearted bitch was thinking about one more way. You know, Shin Shin was dead wrong then about what Delilah was thinking. She wasn't thinking about him. That cold-hearted bitch was thinking on more ways of conniving against him, and what else she can get out of his grieving heart, out of his giving heart. She knew damn well what she was doing. She was just taking advantage of the situation. She knew that Shinshin would have given her anything and everything. She was using his family and friends, and she was living the high life then, using Shinshin to take her places and buying her things. See how that bitch succubus had drained him? I just can't believe that Shinshin kept giving that terrible succubus diamonds and other extravagant gifts and outings. My goodness, Japan, Hawaii, and now Europe. Damn. Doesn't he realize what and how much she has cost him? What did he get in return? Just some sex to satisfy his manly urges. What a terrible situation. She even aborted their babies. What a terrible situation that he had got himself into then. I wish I could have told Shinshin sooner about what Delilah had been doing behind his back. After another great meal with the family, we all helped to clean up the table, gathering plates and dishes and putting away the cups and glasses. I tried helping with the washing, but my aunt would have nothing of it. She rushed me out of there with some hand gesture and said it was woman's work. I laughed and went on my way. Weird, Delilah hadn't offered up had weird to me then. Delilah hadn't offered any help with anything so far. Oh well. I guess she doesn't want to intrude. For the next hour or so, Davy and I talked and played with Amelia with her baby toys, whatnot, while Delilah and Kagome was surfing the internet, looking at places to see and visit for our last few days in London before we headed back to the States. Davy had mentioned that he'll get off work early tomorrow and we all can go and catch a movie at the O2 movie complex. That sounds fine for all of us, and that was the plan. Shortly after our night of eating and fun, we all turned down for bed. Once Delilah and I had freshened ourselves up and gotten dressed in our pajama, we cozily hugged, kissed, and fell fast asleep in each other's arm. We didn't bother to poke or jerk off each other that night. We just wanted to cuddle, and we slept soundly. The next day went pretty normal. Delilah and I awoke after Kagome and Davy had left for work, and my aunt had already had our breakfast waiting on the dining table for us. We washed up and got dressed and went downstairs to greet my aunt and Amelia. I snuck down to the stairs to surprise my aunt, who was busy in the kitchen. I sort of startled her from my sneaky surprise. She laughed and waved her hand at me. She had said if I wasn't her sister's kid, why waving a kitchen knife in my direction. She laughed aloud at me. Delilah and I ate the already prepared hot breakfast and hung around the home for the rest of the day. We took Amelia out to the backyard once we got her snuggled in her baby coat and pants, and we took turn riding down the miniature slide that Davy had put together for Amelia in her sandbox. Amelia is such a cute baby, and had both her parents featured, and just simply a delight to be around. Around 1400 that afternoon, my aunt Amelia, Delilah, and I were surprised by unexpected visitors. Chin and his pregnant girlfriend, Chia, had driven down from Belgium to visit his mom and his sister. They had rang the doorbell and I answered, and they each gave me a hug and asked us how our trip was in Paris several days previously. This time I let Delilah do the storytelling of our trip and adventures in and around the city of Paris, France. They laughed, and we were all surprised that we got to see and do so much in the short time we were there. They had told us that they had come down to visit and that Jin was here to help set up Kagome and Davy's new loft electrical system. They had put down for their very own place and home with no attached next door neighbors of sorts. They had a bigger backyard and even a front yard now. So Jin was here to help with the preparation of their new home. We mentioned that we were going to the O2 tonight to see a movie and asked if Jin and Chia wanted to come along and join us. They happily agreed. After our storytelling and after a few cups of teas and some biscuit, Jin decided to take all of us to see Kagome and Davy's new loft. We all gathered our coats and scarf and went with him to see the new home in the next town over. All six of us were packed in Jin's BMW 750, my aunt Amelia in her lap, Delilah and Chia was in the back seat, while Jin and I were in the front seat. Once there at their home, it was a nice self-fixer upper loft. Davy was building several more floors in it and also bedroom, and already put the upstairs together. He had stripped the old floor of the broken tiles and replaced with strong lumber instead. There was also a fireplace, and the bathroom upstairs was already half done. The backyard was much more spacious than the one they had now, and the front yard was already ready for some flowers and plants to be grown on. Jin went about the house measuring what he needed to measure and writing things down and planning out his steps of setting up the electrical system in the house for his sisters, Davy and her family. After a good hour there in the newly purchased loft, Jin drove all of us back to their present home. On the way, we made a quick stop to get some English food at the local English restaurant. Jin had wanted to try the English pie. We had thought it was some sort of dessert, but it wasn't. They were actually pot pies with meat or vegetable stuff in it. He had ordered several liver pies and some veggie pie that we ate them while waiting for everyone else to come home. The veggie pot pie was pretty good, and as for the liver, well, you have to get used to the taste. I don't really like to cook or boil liver. I prefer my liver fried and roasted. But we all had a nice meal anyhow. Around 1700, Kagome returned home from her legal work, and shortly after, Davy too had come home from his hard work out and about the town on that day. We all greeted each other. Kagome gave Chia a warm embrace, for she too knew of Chia's pregnancy. My aunt hadn't had a clue yet. Davy was also greeted as well, with some wits in common from him. We all had a good laugh. Kagome had told her mother that she need not bother to cook tonight, for all of us were going out to get dinner and a movie at the O2 Convention Super Complex at the North Greenwich Station. My aunt was welcome to come along, but she said that it was too late for her and the baby. So she'll stay behind to watch baby Amelia, and that she'd stay home and watch her darling granddaughter while we, the adults, all go out to have some fun that night. Just the three couples. She wanted all three couples to enjoy ourselves then. After hanging around the house and after getting ready for the evening's outing, we all got ready and took one car out into town and headed for the O2 area. All six of us were comprised of three couples, Kagome and her husband Davy and Jin. Kagome and her husband Davy, Jin and his pregnant girlfriend Chia, and Delia and I were those three couple. We all walked about the convention complex holding our lover's hand. We first went out to dine at a nice English Asian restaurant where we shared a nice meal. I offered to pick up the tab, but Davy wouldn't hear nothing of it. He took the check and paid for all our meals that evening. After the fine wining and dining, we walked about for a bit around the massive shopping center and then took the escalator up to the third floor in the massive mall and bought our movie ticket to catch the latest attraction then. At the time that theater was showing there that one night, we all agreed to see the same movie then, and we all bought some snack and beverage, and in the same row and seats in the large theater. Side by side, we each sat next to our lover. We whispered lightly during the previews and watched and enjoyed the movie together. We all laughed when it was called for, and we booed when it was needed for. After several long hours of outing in about the O2 Convention Super Complex Center, we walked about the cool, brisk night, holding our lovers' hand, just strolling in the dark along the outskirts of the large complex. After we all returned home, pooped out from our night outing and ready for bed, we all thanked Davy for the fine meal and movie-going experience. He laughed and said that we all were too much. One by one, we hugged each other good night, and we each went to our separate bedroom to turn in for the rest of the night. That night, after Delia and I had freshened up and with our pajama on, we did a little fooling around. We pulled, jerked at each other's sexual parts underneath our cotton wares and sheets and blanket. I gave Delia a delightful eating out of her oozing snatch. I ate away at her pie that night, while she gave me a well-deserved blowjob. We took several minutes to make sweet love, being careful not to cause too much noise to arouse the rest of the house occupant suspicions of our sexual sinful deeds that night. After we both climaxed, we fell fast asleep in each other's arm and slept soundly. Delia and I once again awoke after Davy and Kagome had gone off to work and Jin had left to install the electrical in their new home in the next town. Today, in our last full day in London, we were all due to leave for the States and Los Angeles tomorrow afternoon, so we plan to see as much as we can. Delia and I had planned for us to visit the St. Paul Cathedral on Ludgate Hill at the highest point in the city of London. She had mentioned that St. Paul Cathedral is an Anglican cathedral. We were going to visit St. Paul Cathedral for Remembrance Sunday. That afternoon, before Delia had talked with Kagome, had already planned out a route to get there by the underground rail system. Delia is so organized in that sense. She planned things out ahead of time so that she can cover all the bases, just like the way she planned out the fake documents and itinerary for her mother, Lilith, so that she won't catch on to her scheme of running around Europe with me these past weeks. Once Delia and I had freshened up, gotten dressed, and after a few more kisses and warm embrace, together we went downstairs to greet my aunt, Amelia, and Chia, who was helping my aunt put things away in the kitchen. My aunt had prepared us some eggs, sausage muffin, and tea for breakfast. Not wanting to let good food go to waste, we went about to devouring the meal. We ate the delicious prepared meal and thanked my aunt warmly. My aunt had mentioned that she had helped her make the morning breakfast. Chia giggled from the comment, and we also thanked Chia for her help with the breakfast preparation. She laughed without comment and said it was no big deal. We thanked her all the same, and continued to eat the rest of our delicious prepared breakfast, just enjoying ourselves. While eating away our good morning meal, we asked Chia if she wanted to come with us to the St. Paul Cathedral for morning worships and services. Chia took a moment, thought it over, and said she'd rather not, since she herself is a devoted Buddhist and doesn't want us to feel awkward, whatnot. I laughed at Chia's comment and told her not to worry. We like her all the same. She returned the laugh and just grinned warmly. After we ate our breakfast, I took Delia's plate and juice glass and washed both our dishes and glasses before placing it in the drying rack by 0900 hunted that morning, and after we gathered our outing gears, we thanked my aunt and Chia for the breakfast and said goodbye for the day. We left the loft and headed for the same bus stop we always used to take to the North Greenwich train station, to catch the underground rail to the St. Paul Cathedral on Ludgate Hill. Once we got to the North Greenwich station, Delilah and I each bought a day's pass and went about on our way toward the beautiful, century-old constructed cathedral. While riding along several trains to our worship destination that morning, Delilah and I stole several small kisses from each other while we had held hands firmly, riding along the fast-moving cars. That the Sunday train ride was nice and cozy. It wasn't too crowded, mainly consisted of churchgoers and people just out and about on a non-workday of sort. We had our own seat next to sit and relax on while we comfortably held hands and shoot the breeze on the underground train to the cathedral. From one train line to the next, we were quite inseparable, just loving and just enjoying each other's company. I loved being with Delilah then. She had been my best friend and my companion. I love her dearly, Lord. I hope this day goes well for the both of us. I just love being with her, no matter what we do or where we go. Just as long as she's by my side, I am most happy. I hope this had, I hope this hard bumpy thingy on my face goes away soon. I have no idea what it is. Delilah had the same type of hard bump on her lower abdomen area. As long as we both don't pick at it, I'm sure it'll go away. I just hope it's nothing serious. I want us both to enjoy our last full day here in London together. I just want us both to enjoy our last full day here in London, England. I love you, Delilah. You see there? You see that? Shinshin was already getting the virus from Delilah. Both of them have it. Shinshin has it on his right cheek, and Delilah has it on her lower chubby abdomen. Her virus was already infecting him. He had no idea what he was getting himself into then, being with that terrible, terrible succubus Delilah. After a good hour-long train ride to the St. Paul Cathedral, we arrived to our exit and trekked. We arrived to our destination, to our exit, and trekked our way up the Underground Railway, up the stair into the sunlight-covered street of London. We looked at our maps and walked around several more blocks until we came to the cathedral estate. It was a really beautiful place, both inside and outside the grounds. The cathedral was quite large and so elaborate in all its decoration and design. It was well constructed and magnificently astounding. I have never been to a lovelier cathedral. It was much larger and a thousand times fancier than the cathedral of Our Lady of Peace back in Waikiki on the island of Oahu, Hawaii, when Delilah and I spent Easter Sunday there. Mind you, any place of worship is fine and dandy by me. It's just that this particular cathedral, a lot of money and history had been put into it. There were gold-plated massive picture frames throughout its massive elongated halls and byways, and several stories high of marble stone structures. There were basement chambers and holding cell there as well, as though it was once used as a holding cell of sort for prisoners. I'm sure those basement chambers were catacombs of some sort, tunnels for traveling from one place to another underground. With several giant statues of saints, whatnot, it was particularly ginormous. While walking about the enormous cathedral and looking at pictures of paintings and statues, we talked and discussed how amazed we were to see all of this here. After a brief walk about the area, we then found seats at a bench and waited for the morning services to begin on this Remembrance Sunday. The services began with the orders of service. We all stood up while the choir of boys and minister entered the area of services and worship to begin the delightful services that morning. Shortly after they have arrived and found their place, we all sang hymns. We all sang hymn 364. 4:8I, God is love, let heaven adore him. God is love, let earth rejoice, and so forth. After the hymn singing, we remained standing and listened to the short benediction. benediction. After we were all allowed to be seated, while Psalm 41, 1 through 13, expectavi was read in the cathedral was read to the cathedral congregation. Then once again, after the psalm reading, we all stood up once again and said, Your Hail Mary, full of grace. We then sat back down, and our first lesson reading began at the moment. 1 Kings 3, 1 to 15 was read to us, and then we stood up once again, and while listening to the choir of all young boys sing Magnificent in B flat, written by Sir Charles Villiers Stanford, after that lovely singing was done with, we all sat back down and listened to the reading of the second lesson, Romans 8:31 to the end. Once again, after the reading was done, we all stood up once again and listened to the boys' choir sing once more. This time they sang Nunc Dimittis in B flat, led by the same person previously mentioned. Once the lovely song was done with, we all remained standing and we all said the Apostle Creed. I have no idea what that was. Read from my pamphlet and follow along of that creed. After our saying of the worship and thank to the Lord, we all either sat or kneeled and prayed some more, following along with let us pray, Lord. Let us pray, Lord have mercy upon us, and etc. Shortly after that was done with, the collection for Remembrance Sunday was collected about. Delilah and I made some donation and got our blessing. There were 3 collections that morning. The collect for Remembrance Sunday, the collect for peace, and the collect for aid against all peril. During each collection, phrases and reading were read to the congregation of worshippers then. After all collection was collected, and then we sat back down and listened to the priest read and said the anthem. After we read word from Psalm 90 and then gave prayers, and after we once again all stand up for the boy choir to sing hymn CP 453, written by the late Thomas Chisholm, and once again, after the wonderful singing, we all sat back down and listened to the sermon given by Reverend Canon Lucy Winkett, precantor, canon in resident. After she delightfully gave her sermon, we all once again stood up and listened to the boys' choir sing hymn 498, during which another collection is taken. The singing lasted for a good while, during which worshippers would place bills and coins into several giving trays and purses. Once the singing was done, we all remained standing while the blessing was delivered and given to all worshippers that morning afternoon. While the blessing was given, the choir and minister departed the worship area. We were all then still invited to be seated for the prayer of the organ voluntarily, or we were allowed to leave at that point without disturbing those who wished to listen. Delia and I just sat back on the polished wooden bench and listened to the organ voluntarily playing Courtier el Letanie. Once the organ was done playing its lovely song, Delia and I then parted from the beautiful massive cathedral and walked about the area for a bit. We took pictures of the massive cathedral and its lovely designs and landscape. We moved forward and about and found a nearby Starbucks and patroned the place for some venti caramel frappuccino and venti strawberry coffee frappuccino. We sat there enjoying our sweet caffeinated ice-blended cold drinks together, holding hands and gave each other soft kisses. After we finished our drinks, we bought some souvenir from the Starbucks and headed back to the train station there that we left to get to the St. Paul Cathedral just hours earlier. With our all-day train ticket in hand, we headed back to the North Greenwich in the southeast London area and back to my lovely cousin Kagome's home. The underground train ride back was smooth, and we had plenty of room to sit about, so we shared a bench seat and held each other firmly throughout our journey home. Once got back to the North Greenwich station, Delilah and I took a quick detour into the O2 shopping area and bought Kagome a nice thank you gift for their humble hospitality these past weeks. We found what we think she might like and can be useful around the house and such. We bought her a mini vacuum cleaner that was handheld and adjustable to reach around and under small spaces throughout the cozy home. Once we picked up the thank you gift, we got to the double-decker bus and rode our way back to Kagome's cozy home. Delilah and I told each other that this had been the best trip so far that we had shared together. She thanked me for bringing her along, and I thanked her for allowing me to love her. She laughed and gave me a sweet, soft kiss on my lips. I returned the soft kiss and embraced her warmly against her side. She has yet to tell me that she loves me. As for I have told her 1,000,000 times that I love her with all my heart. I really love this girl, Lord, and it's possible. And if possible, can you make our love? Could you make our love possible? In God's name, I pray to thee. After a good 10 minutes of ride or so on the bus, we arrived to our stop. got off, and walked the rest of the several blocks left to Gome's house. Once we arrived home, my aunt and Chia were busy with Amelia, getting her bathed and dressed. We rang the doorbell, and Chia opened the door and welcomed us back and asked how our trip was at the cathedral went. Well, we had we had told her and thanked her for her asking. Once my aunt saw Delilah and I, she told us to go eat lunch that she had already prepared for us that was left atop the kitchen's counter and such. We did as she instructed and ate our lunch while thanking her for all she had done for us since we got here several weeks back. She laughed at our comments and just simply stated that she was happy that she had found and saw that I am doing well. I got up, walked toward my aunt, and gave her a long, heavy embrace and thanked her for just simply being herself. She held me tightly and told me to come back and visit her and her kids again soon. I humbly agreed, and we released each other warm grips. After our lunch, Lion actually helped to put away the dishes this time. To my surprise, she actually helped. We washed up and then we went to the living room to find Chia playing with baby Amelia on the floor with several of her stuffed animal and doll. So both Eli and I also got down on our hands and knees and began to play with Amelia and Chia for the next hour or so. Chia, Delilah, and I talked about this and that and what plans we had in the future and such. Chia had commented that Delilah and I were a good couple and can see us being happy together for a long time. Boy, was she wrong. In my thoughts, I was really hoping that that would be the case, just like she had said, but I think Delilah was thinking about something else totally opposite of my hopes and dreams of us being together for a long time then. While all four of us there, while all four of us, three of which was grown children, were playing about the floor, my aunt decided to join in on our festive activity. She had brought her with a deck of playing cards to our small party of noise making and surprise of closing and opening the eyes of our dolls, whatnot. My aunt began to tell us that she wants to do a reading on Delilah and I and see what our chances and possibility of being together would be. My aunt she was using cards to read our future, like tarot card. But these cards were actually playing card. I had no problem with my aunt doing the tarot-like card reading, but Delilah seemed to be hesitant about the black art of such. I laughed and told my aunt to go ahead without Delilah's approval. She began to shuffle the card and then allowed Delilah and I to pick several cards from the deck. I did as she asked and encouraged Delilah to do the same. She finally came around and got in on the card choosing after a few encouragement was asked of her by me. I picked 5 cards, of which was the Queen of Heart, Queen of Spade, King of Diamond, Jack of Club, and the 7 of Diamond. Delilah had picked the 2 of Club, 4 of Diamond, 9 of Spade, 3 of Hearts, and the 10 of Spades. All of Delilah's cards were much lower than mine, and my aunt began to tell us what each card signified and meant. I had to translate for Delilah what my aunt was saying about those cards as she put them together to tell us of our fortune and future together. She began to telling us, while she listened to us on as well, while Delilah and I will have lots of fun together, going out and such, traveling and doing things together like going out and such, but that would not last too long. She said, although we have been together for over a year now, that our together time have maxed out and that we are simply stretching the, our time together for the meantime. My aunt, my aunt Han continued to say that Lai is the type of person who loves to spend and not save, and where I am the person who is too giving and like to save for the future. So far, what my aunt was saying was absolutely true. She was telling us actual things. I feel that at the time, when my aunt mentioned those things, Delilah was sort of getting freaked out from what my wise aunt was saying. It was like she had known what we were doing, going through these past year, and that Delilah was using me all this time. She also mentioned that Delilah, who has a very protective and territorial parent mother, who is constantly looking out for her and don't want anyone near her daughter. As I looked at Delilah's face, her eyes opened up as though she was awakened by the very hand of God. My aunt quietly finished her foretelling by reminding us that we will soon have some rough times in our relationship once we return back to the States. I didn't want to believe that what my aunt was saying about our relationship. I wanted to shrug off my aunt's last statement about us not lasting long, but in the back of my mind, I sort of sensed it too. Delilah and I have been growing apart. Delilah and I have been having some difficulty with her mom, accusation and whatnot with the school district, and that month apart last August, and that Delilah and I argued, and we parted for about a month or so. We have become distant of sorts. I was hoping this trip together would fix that. Delilah's face seemed cold from my aunt's foretelling of our future together, as though she had already planned for our breakup. Why she was still stringing me along, I have no reason. I tell you, I have no, I don't know what to tell you. Why? Why, Lord? I smiled at Delilah and laughed off the more than likely truth from my wise aunt then. I moved closer to Delilah and kissed her on the cheek in front of my aunt. With some embarrassment, she pushed me away, and my aunt laughed at our minute quarrel. My aunt, hoping to squash our tension, told us not to worry, just to go on with what we were doing and just enjoy each other for the time being, and enjoy each other. I thanked my aunt for the future reading, but as for Chia, she seemed to be in a trance of sort. What my aunt was saying seemed to be so true to her. She wondered if my aunt had done reading on her and Jin, and what that mean for the both of them. Perhaps. My aunt already knew that Chia was pregnant. She seemed lost after my reading then. Chia just stood there atop the carpet in silence while Amelia grabbed at her right elbow. Shortly after the soft touch from the baby, she came to and back to her state of mind. Afterward, Delilah and I went to our room and began to pack our things together. We discussed our flight time tomorrow afternoon and what underground train lines we need to take back to get there at least 2 hours before our scheduled departure from Heathrow Airport and back to LAX. We wrote it out on our plans and agreed on what we had come up with. I kissed her firmly on her lips and held her warmly in my arms. I told her that I loved her and thanked her for once again for coming along with me to meet my newly found blood relative. She returned some of my kisses and embrace and went about to finish organizing her belongings, not bothering to say that she loves me too. After about an hour or so of rummaging through our belongings and junks and packing our gear together, Delia and I finished and returned back downstairs to chit-chat and amuse my aunt, Chia, and baby Amelia with our presents. After several hours of watching some kiddie show on the television and snacking on some fruits and sweet with Chia and Amelia, Kagome returned home from her long day work and brought some Asian cuisine and entree for tonight's dinner. Kagome had wanted to give us a really good going away dinner and such since our last night together in our home as a family. From the smell and inviting aroma of the surprise food, Kagome had purchased family-sized salted pepper prawns, seafood combination fried rice, roasted duck with tangy sauce, Mongolian green pepper beef, and several fried shrimp dumplings and several other side dishes. We were all eating good tonight. I laughingly joke about tonight's get-together. The smell of the food got all our mouth watered. But we still have to wait till Davy and Jin gets home so that we all can enjoy our last family dinner together because Delia and I were set to leave tomorrow morning or so. Kagome asked how our day went at the cathedral and what else we did. I told her that the service at St. Paul Cathedral went well and we spent about a good 4 hours there or so, and that we stopped at a Starbucks, picked up some souvenir and trinket for her friends and family back in the States, and we also got her something. I presented Kagome with the mini vacuum cleaner that I had purchased for her home. She laughed and gave me a warm hug of gratitude. Delilah tried to also take credit for Kagome's gift. Before David and Jen returned home from their work on their new home on the other side of town, Kagome and the rest of us at their present home cleaned up the area and set out the dinner table with some clean tablecloth and set out the dishes and plate with nice glasses to match for our beverage. Kagome brought out the good china for this departing occasion. I had told her that this was too much and they didn't need to do all this. She laughed and told me that she doesn't get too many chances to use her good china. So we went all laugh together with respect and admiration for one another's lives and experiences. Delia also helped with some setting up preparations and tidying up the living room and dining room area. We all continued to play with baby Amelia and amuse her with our moves about the room of moaning and groaning as we go about making the home more comfortable. My loving aunt and Chia were in the kitchen setting up portions of the purchased Asian cuisine and treats. They took the already cooked food into the good china serving platter and plates and putting the sauce in nice little silver containers and holders to make it all fancy for all of us to enjoy that night. We got We were going to eat really well tonight. Thank you, Lord, for allowing me to meet these people who are of my blood, and thank you for giving all of us breath and to see this day through. Thank you, Lord. After after 1900 that evening, Davy and Jen returned from their long day of working on the new fixer-upper home. With signs of tiring and exhaustion in their face and body movement motions, they greeted everyone in their house. We all returned the greeting. Davy kissed his baby girl Amelia and proceeded to kiss his loving wife. From the sight of him, from the sight of them, both Davy and Jen were all soiled with dirt and grimes. With Kagome's encouragement to go clean up and ready for supper, both husband and brother went upstairs to get ready for tonight's festive dinner. After about half an hour or so, Davy and Jen returned downstairs to meet up with the rest of us while we were all busy setting out the table with foods and drinks. Davy was in awe. Amazing, he had stated. Amazing. Really fancy eating tonight, he commented. We all had a nice giggle. Yep, my aunt had said. It's Shin Shin and Delilah's last night here with us. They are returning to the States tomorrow morning. Of this she finished her sentence. Well, we all going to miss both of the lovely couple, Davy had stated. Once the table was finished being set up and a whole table of food was seen, we all sat down and ate away the delicious prepared ordered meal. While we ate to our heart's content, we talked and laughed about our day's event, what we did and how we came to enjoy the meeting, greeting, and each other. Della and I thanked them for all their fine hospitality and hope one day to return the favor. I sincerely thank my aunt, two cousins, her husband, Amelia, Chia, for being so humble and being so loving all these weeks we have shared with them. We all took pictures of each other, posing for the digital camera lenses and just laughing the rest of the night away while all ate the rest of the delicious meal together. That night, although I hardly drink alcohol, that night I share a cup of white wine with everyone else. We all have a lovely meal, and I really will remember this day. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for making this happen for me, Lord. In God's name, I pray. After our extra delicious meal that night, we all helped to clean up and sat around for a bit, chit-chatting and just talking of remembrance of things we have done and things we will and look forward to doing. I apologize for not helping with their new home construction. David had told me not to think anything of it, that we all were on vacation and serve to see as much as we can. He goes to invite us back to his home once the entire home is completely done with and to return and visit them again. We are always welcome, he had said. I sincerely thank him once again for all the care that he had given us these past weeks and that Delia and I really appreciated all of it. Around 2200 that evening, we were all tired and bushed from all of today's activities and excitement. We then all turned in for bed. We hugged each other good night and left for our rooms separately. Delilah and I freshened up at the same time and went about to our room to change into our pajama and snuggle ourselves to bed that night. We didn't really fool around too much on that night. We had to get up early and catch our flight back to the state around 1200 the next day. We passionately kissed for a good while, bit and licked at each other. We didn't bother jerking or masturbating each other off, or jam each other's holes in the orifice. We just simply gave each other deep kisses and tongues, and then fell fast asleep in each other's arm and warm embrace. We slept soundly that night, with our stomach full of great Asian cuisine and warm from the white wine. I nestled in Delilah's embrace while she rested against my chest. I love being with Delilah, Lord. I love being with Delilah. Being able to sleep here beside her makes me so happy. Thank you, Lord, and I hope this never ends. Please look and watch over the both of us, Lord Almighty. After a good night's sleep, Delilah and I awoke around 0600 this morning. We had to be ready and leave the house by 0730 or so we can catch a couple of hours to spare before having to catch our flight from the Heathrow airport. We both freshened up and ready ourselves. We then gathered our belongings and luggage and took it downstairs into the front door hallway. We then went bedroom to bedroom and thanked everyone for being so wonderful to us all these weeks. I awoke my aunt and hugged her warmly. She followed us to Davy's and Comi's room. We woke them up, thanked them too. We kissed baby Amelia goodbye and woke Jen and Chia too and gave them a warm embrace also as well. As we went about to thank everyone, they all followed the line I to their front door hallway, and we all once again embraced as a family. Family hugged and said our farewell and goodbyes. Kagome made sure we had all our papers and documents for the ride to the Heathrow airport. and such. We reassured her that we do, and thanked them all once again. They saw Delana off and out of their home and out of their life that morning. With warm thoughts and enjoyable memories in our hearts and mind, Delilah and I walked comfortably in the chilly morning toward the bus stop. After a few minutes of waiting, we boarded the double-deck bus for the last time, headed toward North Greenwich Station once again. Once at the station, we purchased a one-way pass going toward Heathrow International Airport on the other side of London. With our heavier luggage in tow and our backpack full of souvenirs and gifts for friends and family, Delilah and I boarded the Underground tube for the last time. We sat comfortably in each other's arm, giving and taking little kisses from one another. After several changes of trains and subway rail, and taking a trolley into the Heathrow Airport terminal, Delilah and I arrived to the large British airport around 0930 that morning. We found the British Airways section and checked ourselves in. We each checked in our luggage, got our passes and seats assigned, and proceeded to get through custom and immigration. With little hassle, we got through the custom and immigration security checkpoint. Of course, we had to take off our shoes and such, put our backpacks on the rails to go through the X-ray machine, but we didn't sound the alarm or brought out any suspicious about us. We were then allowed and passed through, and once our shoe was back on, we grabbed our backpacks and gathered our things and went about toward our British Airways designated gate. We arrived to our designated departure gate around 1100 that morning, with about an hour to spare before we were due to leave Britain that morning. Delilah and I made a stop at the restroom and emptied our bladder and colon. Once that was done with, we then went to Patron, a coffee shop in the terminal waiting area. We each got a good cup of hot chocolate and went to sit and wait in our gates area. We sat there cozily next to each other and gave each other soft kisses while we enjoyed our sweet hot drinks. Delilah then called her mom and told her that she was at the airport and was about to board to return to LAX, and she was due to land there, and she told her mom some of the stuff she had done and seen in England, Europe, and Paris. After a good 15 minutes on the prepaid cell phone, they said their goodbye, and Delilah returned to me once again, because I had to keep my mouth shut the whole time, like always. With about 20 minutes to spare, our flight desk clerk called for the boarding of flight BA-0283 from Heathrow to Los Angeles International Airport. Both Delilah and I gathered our backpack and item, got in line with the rest of the overseas traveler, and pacing our step following behind them until our ticket were checked, scanned, and then we were allowed to board our flight. We found our seats in the midsection of the plane. We sat at seat 43A and 43B. Delilah convinced me to give her the aisle seat because she had mentioned that she had the case of the runs and may need to go to the ladies' room of sort throughout our flight back home. I laughed and told that I'll suck up what she needed to. I laughed and I told that I'll suck up what she needed to release and what her bum would let out. She giggled and told me that I was being nasty. I giggled back and gave her a quick kiss on her sweet lips. I love those freckles on her porcelain face. Thank you, Lord, for this day. Let us make it home safe and sound. Once all passengers were accounted for and the plane's staff ready and prepared, we left Heathrow Airport in London that day on November 23rd, 2007 at 12 noon and made it back to Los Angeles the same day at 3 p.m. that afternoon. The British airplane took flight and flew for several hours over and across the Atlantic, once while piggybacking on the stratosphere jet stream above. Throughout our flight, we had few turbulence. In all, the ride was quite smooth. During our flight back to the States, Delilah and I did our usual routine when traveling together on a long trip. We played various card games and worked on crosswords, word searches, and Sudoku, and took turn working on the Sudoku puzzle. Delilah was getting pretty good at this game too, since I have been showing her how some tricks and giving her some pointers in solving the brain-teasing number game. Besides our trivial game, we also took naps and slept part of the way back to our home in Southern California. We stole kisses and embraces one another warmly throughout the time we were awake during our flight home. When we were hungry, we snacked on our sweets and treats and that we had brought and bought with us in our backpack and that we used as a carry-on. We snacked on Sakura Kit Kat chocolate bars and some Japanese candy, whatnot. We didn't bother to masturbate or harshly fondle each other during our flight this time. We simply snuggled and enjoyed what we had used. experienced. So far, this had been our longest trip together overseas, and I hope to do many more trips traveling with Delia in the future. If time and money permits, of course. I hope my job gets better as well. Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to spend these weeks together. I hope that our love can grow stronger with time. And I hope that Delia has been true and faithful to me, Lord. This I hope. During our entire flight from Britain to California, since we crossed several time zones, several times we were fed food and beverages. We had British American food throughout the trip. We had tea with our meals, and several times we shared hot coffee and shared and dined on each other's order. I would share anything with this girl, Lord. I love her that much. I love holding her hands and giving her soft kisses upon her rosy porcelain cheek. I love kissing Delilah all over, no matter how hairy she may have been or how often she had to shave, what not. She was my girl, and that was all that mattered. After about an 8-hour flight, a nice long trip back home, such much faster than what we had returned from Japan, our British Airways flight landed smoothly in the vast airport property of Los Angeles International Airport. Once we have landed and our planes were towed toward our terminal and gate, Delilah and I repacked our backpack and got ourselves ready for departure from the plane. Once we had come to a complete stop and the plane's captain on the seatbelt off sign, Delilah turned on her cell phone and called her mother to let her know that she had arrived safely in LA. Her mom was already at the arriving gate for the international passenger and said she will meet her at the exit gate once she gets through custom and such. Like always, I had to wait till Delilah get out of the airport terminal first with her mother so that we wouldn't be seen together by her conniving mother, Lilith, before I can go out of the custom and immigration area, so I hung around there once again. Once the airplane hatches were opened and passengers were allowed to depart from the plane, we got our backpack and walked behind the rest of the tired crowd who were ready to get off and out of the plane as well. Once we left our plane, we walked a good several minutes until we arrived to the custom and immigration security checkpoint. With our U.S. passport in hand, we entered the U.S. citizen line and got through it smoothly. The custom agent didn't really ask us much of anything. He simply looked at our passport and stamp from England and then waved us on by. Once we got through the custom security checkpoint, we then proceeded to get our luggage from the turnstile conveyor belt that was unloading luggages from our British Airways plane. We waited a few more minutes, picking up our luggages, and then we kissed and hugged each other goodbye for the day. Delia was leaving first to exit the security area, while I waited for her to leave the terminal so I too can leave the airport. While I waited, I called my best friend Dara and asked him if he could pick me up from the international airport at LAX. He said it was no problem, and we hung up. I waited about a good half hour or so before I was straggling out of the custom and immigration checkpoint with my luggage and backpack in tow. Since I was suspiciously hanging around the area, I was once again stopped by a TSA employee and questioned about my travels and belongings. I was once again asked to open my luggage so that they can search it. I complied with all their demands, and nothing illegal was found or seized from me that day. After I was allowed to leave, I walked out the international gate and out into the street outside the terminal. A short time after, Dara pulled up to my location of waiting in his red truck. I threw my luggage in the back cabin and entered his truck. We shook hands, embraced each other with a nice friendly hug, and he drove me toward my apartment in Cherry Pineapple Grove. During our drive home, he asked me how my trip and vacation went, and how my blood relatives were like. I told him all about them, the exciting things that I've done and seen, and how wonderful my relatives were. I told him that I got to see England, Belgium, Amsterdam, and France, and I had a really good time. Enjoying my time with my newly found family and friends, he was happy for me too. And he had said while we drove home together that he's so good to me. He's so good to me. I am glad, I am happy that my beloved friend, Lord. Thank you. Thank you for Dara, Lord. Our drive home from the LAX airport took about 30 minutes or so. Once we arrived to my apartment, I asked Dara if he wanted to come in for some beverage of sort. He had told me that he had other plans and that he'll catch up with me later. We said goodbyes and parted for the rest of the day. Once I got to my apartment, I went about the one-bedroom place, checking on my windows and drawers, making sure nothing was missing. I turned on my freezer back on and turned on the faucet in the kitchen and bathroom faucet and allowed them to run for a good minute or two so that the water is cleaned out and flushed out. I then checked my answering machine and listened to several messages, mostly all from the school district substituting teacher hotline, telling me that there were subbing opportunity available for this and that. I deleted them all. I checked my phone to see if Delilah had texted me to let me know that she had arrived at her home, but no text or message was sent to me my cell phone that day from Delilah. I had to get online that night to catch up with her. She had said she was busy doing things with her mom and they were running errands and such around town that day. Now, what Shinshin hadn't realized then right after Delilah had parted away from with him in the custom and immigration checkpoint area, well, while she was walking out of the international gate to the floor above to meet and greet her mom and such, Delilah had texted me about her return to LAX and had already planned to see me that evening. That's why I brushed him off and said I had the other plans already made for tonight. That's why I was giving Shinshin the cold shoulder. I was meeting up with Delilah later that evening, and since she and I hadn't, well, we hadn't seen each other for the last 3 weeks or so, and we need to catch up and fulfill our nasty ass sexual needs and desire for one another, of which we only knew how. I was gonna get some nasty ass shit from her on this and throughout that night. This was my and our plan for this evening get together to fuck each other's brains out once again. That late afternoon together, Delilah allowed me to be all over and all inside her tainted snatch and all up her asshole. I had noticed that she had a hard zit look alike thingy on her lower abdomen, but thought nothing of it. I just kept pounding into her and giving it to her just how she liked it. Up her ass, up her nasty ass, and her nasty ass snatch. Angrily rough all over her, I was poking and fisting her, anally, and fisting her everywhere she wanted. Several times she choked and gagged on my shaft while I thrust harder and harder into her sucking and gulping mouth. I had no idea then that my beloved Shinshin was seeing this terrible sex freak of a human being. I had no idea he had taken her to Europe to meet his family, his long missing relative. I had no idea that he was so deeply in love with that bitch of a succubus. I am so sorry, Shinshin. I am so very sorry. I am so sorry that this succubus had infected you. I am so sorry, Shinshin. Thank you for listening. This is the end of chapter 146. Be on the lookout for chapter 147, titled December Holidays Depravity. This is Do, Ra, me, and I'll see you later. Thank you.